Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Noise, the MDOTM podcast where we explore AI, technology, and the investment management industry. I'm Andrea, and I'll be your host today. Today with me, I have Peter Zangari, the head of Americas at MDOTM, who's held senior roles at JP Morgan, MSCI, and Goldman Sachs, and, has a handful of experience in the investment management industry. Together, we'll explore how the industry has evolved over the past decades, what it means to manage portfolios in the age of technology, and how AI is reshaping the way institutional investors build, monitor, and explain their strategies. Thank you, Peter, for being here with me today.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I'm very excited for today's conversation, but before jumping into, how AI is reshaping the investment industry nowadays, I'd like to give a little bit of context to our listeners or our viewers regarding your background, a little bit about your journey throughout JP Morgan, MSCI, Goldman, and now, how you're part of MDOTM.
Sure. So my background, it starts, if I pick a point where it starts, in terms of how it relates to what I've done throughout my career and even what I'm currently doing with MDOTM. It starts after I came out of graduate school, right? And I studied econometrics. I have a PhD in econometrics. And I always tell people, like, when they ask if they're interested, is that, quantitative methods, technical analysis is part of my DNA. So although I held roles in management, in different areas that don't relate to research or quantitative methods, it's something that has always stayed with me. And when I think about what I'm doing today, and what I've been doing over the last couple of years, specifically working with MDOTM, is that towards the latter part of my career with financial institutions, I became particularly interested in not only artificial intelligence, but more specifically how artificial intelligence could be applied to investment management. Okay. And again, going back to what's in my DNA, I took a real interest in learning, what is it specifically that we're talking about? Because when people speak about AI, it's so broad. All right. But when I think about, my experience, and then I think about artificial intelligence and how I started to see it possibly making an impact and playing a role in investment management, I saw, how it could make an impact everywhere from starting within research to product development to portfolio management and then ultimately to client engagement.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's where I'm coming from, so to speak. That's the context.
And how would you say the main difference of the investment world look like beforehand and nowadays?
Sure. So this is an evolution, okay? And it always is, right? Meaning that when you have a new technology that comes out, and there's so many examples you can give, okay? Whether you talk about the internet, right? Whether you talk about other type of changes in technology, it takes time for it to work its way through the system, so to speak. Okay. So what my observation is, and what I've seen, especially if you think about publicly or broadly speaking, if you think about ChatGPT, when did it come out? It came out, I think, around November 30th of 2022. Mm-hmm. Okay. And where are we now? We're close to November 30, 2025. All right. So it's not that long of a time period. No. But over that time period, okay, people who never thought of artificial intelligence, people who never could even think about what does it mean? How does it work? They started to see, this is what it can do. And that's a really small part of it, okay?
Yeah.
But people could see, what it can do. And if you go back to that date, or around that date, to now today, so much has happened.
So many new tools that have come out.
In terms of the awareness of it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and the necessity
anywhere in the globe and people know that term. Yeah. Or they know at least artificial intelligence. right?
Yeah.
And importantly, they know certain applications they can point to.
Mm-hmm.
So much has happened in just 3 years. Where if you think about, okay, then what could happen in the next 3 years? And so on and so forth. So it's just an amazing set of developments. I don't know if it's an exponential growth or what have you, but it's something that's, really, to me, is an amazing phenomenon. And I also teach at university. And when ChatGPT came out and I learned about it, one of the first things I did was I had a class the next day or so after I started playing with it. And I said, folks, here's the URL. You should learn about this. Okay.
Yeah.
And learn about it, how it could really help you become more knowledgeable and do whatever task or job you have better.
And this is more like regarding everyone, of course. But since November 2022, not only did the whole world change, but also like the day-to-day life of investment professionals. How has this AI revolution affected the investments industry? How would you say the day-to-day life of a portfolio manager, for example, changed since this moment?
Yes. So I would say that if you look at, investment management, portfolio management, broadly speaking, if I had to choose two areas where I think you've seen the greatest impact already, all right? And again, these things are changing and they're evolving, so on and so forth. I would start with research, okay? And today, or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, not too long ago, if you wanted to do research that required you to investigate, study a particular thesis or idea, all right? It took a lot of work to really start to drill down and say, like, what data set do I need? Mm-hmm. How do I learn more about this idea that I have in my mind so far, so on. And if I'm another example is, if I'm an equity analyst, right? I spend a lot of time doing research on a company or companies. Okay. I spend a lot of time in Excel. I spend a lot of time reading reports, so on and so forth. Okay. So that part of research, the research that requires like reading a lot of different materials in a relatively short period of time, that has totally changed. Mm-hmm. Today, from your computer with a prompt or two, which is basically a set of instructions for your chatbot, what have you, you can do so many interesting things in terms of doing that research, studying companies.
Yeah.
Right? Learning about what's going on in different parts of the country and getting summaries of that topic that you asked the computer, the algorithm to look into. And that summary, all right, can be very, very detailed. Meaning that it's a summary that would have taken weeks, months, maybe years to do. And you can now do that. One can do that in a relatively very, very short period of time. And you do that where the summary that comes back has links to specific references mm-hmm. in terms of what you're investigating. So it's not as if, you query something and it comes back with, a generic summary or story or narrative. No, it comes back with, if you formulate the proper prompt, it comes back with a detailed summary with links and connections to references that then you can independently go out and look up.
Yeah.
So that's on the research side of things. All right. The other area I would point to is in terms of client engagement. A lot of time is spent often in investment management by so-called client portfolio managers. And their job, they do many things, but one thing is that at the end of every quarter, they have to report on the performance of their portfolios to their clients. And there's a lot of manual work involved, right? You've got to get the performance together. You've got to then say, okay, here's our performance. What generated that performance, right? So you do your own return analysis. You talk to portfolio managers, so on and so forth. And then you have to write a narrative. Today, with the help of artificial intelligence, those summaries or those reports that are client facing, that go to clients, can be done in a way that's more detailed and at a highly scalable manner and very customizable. So things aren't just moving faster and more efficiently, but they're also done in a way that's customized so that when a client reads what you've done or how your performance is, it's performance that ties to their specific portfolio and not something that's to a general portfolio.
Yeah.
Exactly. So those are two areas I would point to.
Which also like truly helps with for asset and wealth managers like to scale their client base.
Right.
Because it doesn't take as much time as it used to keep that client relationship, you know?
Exactly.
And given this, that it helps with the speed of research, as you said, with the speed at which you provide a report to a client and customize it as well. Would you consider this a tech wave that is more important than, for example, when we experienced the computer, when we experienced the internet, which was also very similar in the sense that it really changed the day-to-day lives of the industry? Would you say it's similar or even like more important than these past tech waves?
Yeah, well, I think, time will tell, right? But, my gut feeling, it'll be as important, if not more important, okay? And, one of the reasons why I say that is just like, look at today, everyone walks around, we say with a phone in our pocket or whatever, it's really a computer.
Yeah.
Right. And that computer has many apps on it that use AI and they've been doing it for years. So it's already part of our lives. All right. But again, if you go back to just, ChatGPT coming out in November of 2022, and you see what has changed or how it has been how it has infiltrated society, globally, then, if that trajectory continues, you have to believe that this is going to be, possibly the biggest technological advancement or impact that we've seen.
What are some lessons that you learned from earlier tech waves that we could apply to today's tech wave?
I think one of the lessons or observations is that, when this happens, when there's a technology wave or something new, okay, technology or not, it's inevitable that you'll have the folks who maybe are too exuberant about the change or what they're seeing, and people who are the cynics, the skeptics, right? And you see that now, okay, with AI. Initially, I would say in my personal experience, many skeptics, okay? And over time, it's one of those things that it's inevitable. You can't go anywhere without someone talking about AI or seeing how it affects different businesses, so on and so forth. That is something that will just be, very significant.
Well, yeah, you just have to accept it and sort of like evolve with it, because a common concern is that it will replace, but maybe it's just a matter of evolving with it, of changing the way that we work on our day-to-days in order to adapt to it, which is something that I think the investment industry is doing. It's really in a process of transformation. Where would you say are the areas that are mainly changing in the industry thanks to this tech wave?
Well, I would say that you could adapt to it, or you can use AI, right? You can learn as much as you can about it, its applications, and then use it as, I use the term, an Uber assistant to what you're doing.
Yeah.
All right. So I think in general, and this is what I, preach to the students, this is something where like you're a bystander. You're observing what's going on. Yeah, you are. But more importantly, you have to be proactive and say, how do I learn the most about this capability? All right. This technology, whatever you call it, so I can leverage it and use it, to the best of my ability. And that's important, especially when you talk about going into the workforce, where increasingly employers want to know, what is your experience in using AI to do a particular job?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that is an important distinction.
Which is honestly evolving every single day. It's not like it's a one-off education. You have to like learn every single day, every single tool that is coming out, a new model. What would you say about the asset and wealth managers that maybe are still not skeptical, but haven't like widely accepted this adoption? Maybe they have some barriers, be it in trust, be it in culture, explainability. What would be your advice to them when they have these sort of barriers when it comes to AI adoption?
Yeah. So I think, again, going back to something that's new and it has the ability to make a very significant impact, the acceptance, the adoption, the utilization, it's usually uneven, meaning certain people, companies, move a lot faster than other companies. All right. It's just the nature of the industry and so on and so forth. Okay. Also, if you're a company that's been around for, many years and you've been, very successful and you have systems and processes and so on that are ingrained in how you run your business, it takes time to, first of all, figure out how do we incorporate these new methods, these new practices, this new technology into our business. So that almost by definition takes time.
Yeah.
But now, having said that, in my observations, there's clearly clients who want to move faster. They need to move faster because their business model is being challenged, or they need a better spark to engage their clients. So they look to what's happening in AI and saying, how do we leverage that to power our business forward? Others, their business is fine, okay? And it's been running fine for years, but they think we need to incorporate this into our business because if we want to continue to compete at the highest level, we know we need to do that, and AI has to be an important part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So their focus there is to say, what are the areas of our business where we use AI now? And then over time, we'll figure out how to incorporate it more broadly.
Yeah. Yeah. So your advice would be like to start with a specific use case and maybe carry out, be it a POC, be it a light integration, to start experimenting with that technology within the business. Yeah.
I would say that, in general, it's always good to start on a specific opportunity or problem, because if you start broad, that rarely works. No. Yeah. So start on you use the term use case. So pick a use case, maybe two. Okay. Do your due diligence in terms of how AI may be able to address that use case. Again, whether it's an opportunity or a challenge or both. All right. And put the right team internally around it. And when I say the right team, these are people within the organization who are going to be open-minded about taking in something that could potentially change the way they work. All right. But ones who, you're confident in that they'll be as objective as possible and they'll work to do the best job to figure out how to incorporate AI into the organization. Because often what happens, and again, this isn't new with AI, when something new technology evolves or happens within an organization, certain people, understandably at times, think that it's a threat in terms of thinking that this isn't a threat. This is a real opportunity, okay, if I use it the right way. Yeah.
Well, what have you learned? It's 2 years that you have been in MDOTM. You have seen clients go from nearly 0 to 100 of adopting this technology. Could you maybe share a couple of success stories of maybe clients that have done this?
Yeah. Now, since joining MDOTM, to me, it's just been fantastic how you see going from a space where, at least in the U.S., clients haven't been thinking much about AI or taking maybe a bit of a more skeptical point of view, to now having prospects, clients calling you, oftentimes in an unsolicited way, to say, we've read about this, we've read something about MDOTM, we read about these capabilities. Could you guys come in and give us a demo or talk to us more about what's happening? So increasingly, what we're observing at M.M is that clients still need to be, you still need to go out there and make them aware of what we're doing in particular. But as they're speaking to their peers in the industry, right, as they continue to have pressure, particularly in wealth management, asset management, to grow their business, to get new clients, to improve performance, what have you, then they're motivated to go out and to engage a company like M.M to say, how can you guys work with us? How can you help us? Let's work together. And again, in my experience with M.M and the partnerships that they form with clients, to me, is really exceptional, right? I believe, and I'm biased, but not too biased, because I'm also want to be objective, which you have to be, right, to not make any emotional decisions. But I've observed where the clients we work with, they really appreciate our ability to understand the client's challenges as best as we can, okay? Mm-hmm. And not approach the client talking about just AI.
Yeah.
No. We approach the clients by understanding what is your specific challenge or opportunity that you want us to address. And then we work with them to say, how can you leverage what we've built to address that situation? And oftentimes, in my experience, is that it's one of the things where you have a hammer and you go around looking for a nail, that analogy. And that's a really bad way of going about it, okay? And many clients, if not all, do not want that, right? They want somebody who could sit with them and talk about the investment process, all right? And how do we make that better?
Yeah, like analyzing specifically the steps of the investment process for which need maybe scaling, which they need automating, and see where this technology can aid them in those specific parts of the investment process. So as head of Americas on M.M, you explained how it is to see M.M working with its clients. What's next now, especially here in the US for M.M?
I think what's next is growth. Right, we're growing well in the U.S. We still have a relatively small footprint, but we see significant opportunity in the U.S. We're confident. We know we have not just a product that we know is very applicable to many wealth managers and asset managers to help their businesses in different areas, but also, again, our experience of working with clients, understanding their issues to help them grow. And, our goal is that, the more we help our clients grow, mm-hmm. the more we help them become more efficient, then the more clients we will, get. So, we're focused on growth, and we see a significant opportunity ahead for us in the Americas.
And as more and more asset and wealth managers keep on integrating this technology and embedding it within their processes, what do you think the next 5 to 10 years could look like for this industry with AI? I know you said that maybe we have to wait, but what is your outlook? Is everyone going to have it? Is it maybe going to be no longer like such a competitive advantage that it is today? What will the modern investment process look like to you in the future?
Well, I think over time, to use a term, it'll be table stakes, meaning all managers, if not with few exceptions, will have AI in some part of their process, their investment process. Okay, it's just going to be a fact of life. All right. So that's going to happen, all right? It'll take time for certain companies, but it will happen. And we may not even be speaking about AI or using that term because it'll be some part, it'll be so central to many of the things we do.
Yeah.
All right? So if you go out longer enough, I would say maybe we won't even be mentioning the term AI. Okay.
Yeah, it could evolve into something else,
or have a different. I mean, we know already. People may be using the term AGI. Okay, general intelligence, and then you have also kind of alongside of it, what's going on with quantum computing.
Yeah.
Right. So there's so many things out there that if you go 5 years time, 10 years time, even further, again, I think that all of these new technologies will work their way into, our livelihoods, and in asset management, wealth management in particular. That'll just be something that's part of what we do. Especially, last point is that if you think about the generations, okay? So if you're, in college, you're in high school, all right, you're growing up with that, all right? Yeah. So that's part of your life growing up before you go into the workforce, all right? If you're someone like me, who's, I don't know what it is, 2/3 through, halfway through, and now artificial intelligence, in terms of its application, is really coming about, then you could be a bit more intransigent in terms of accepting it.
Yeah. What would be your advice to the upcoming generations that are growing up with it?
Well, my advice in general is just be exceptional at what you do. All right. Regardless of what it is, be exceptional. Now, it sounds maybe simple, but it's not. Okay. And oftentimes, whether it's working or meeting with students or meeting with people who just entered the workforce, oftentimes they always say, I want to do that job or that job. It's regardless of what, role you're in today, be exceptional at it. And if you do that and you're fortunate enough to be surrounded by people who knows what good looks like, meaning they see that, then that is, that's money. But what often happens, in my experience, is that folks don't focus on that. They get distracted by other things. All right. So to tie being exceptional, at what you do to what we're talking about here today, understand how artificial intelligence, or however it evolves over time, can help you be exceptional at what you do.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how I think one should think about it and leverage it. And not think about it as a threat, okay? It's a threat if you're a bystander.
True.
But if you're somebody who says, I'm going to leverage this, right, to make me the best, employee I can be, or the best, just in general, professional that I can be, then I think you'll be in a decent spot.
And I think this applies, not only in general, of course, but to the investments industry as well, to all those maybe big companies that are at the beginning a little bit skeptical into integrating this technology because they're kind of a bystander, as you said.
Yeah.
Maybe they can just view it as something as to how it can help them grow as a business, to obtain more clients, to better their client relationship. Right. So yeah, that's a very nice perspective of viewing it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think this is a good place to wrap up our conversation today. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us. And to our viewers or listeners, if you have any more information or want to get in contact with us, you can visit www.m.m.ai, where we have all of our documents and use cases and also contact information. And thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you again, Peter. This was Beyond the Noise, and see you next episode.